section and on the post, and you can feel free to join in. We will take about a good 20 so minutes for Overture and I to exchange some conversation with a Q&A, and then we'll turn it over to you to hear what some of your questions or comments are. So Overture, how you feeling tonight? You ready for this?
You know what, Rania? I was born ready.
All right.
No, I'm teasing. I am elated to be here. I know that Free Thinkers has. This show has done a lot of good in the community. It's been a great medium to discuss issues and to keep the voters and the citizens informed about what is happening locally. So I am delighted to be here this evening on the Free Thinkers. I'm grateful to Mr. Pendergrass, David Pendergrass, for the platform. And I'm also grateful to you, Rania, for being willing to host this evening. So again, just thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Overture. And it feels good to just, again, have an opportunity to catch up and again, give folks an opportunity to get to know you more. So thank you for letting me do this. So we're going to jump right in because I don't believe in letting time tarry or grass grow under my feet. So I know everybody's juggling a whole lot. So I want to go ahead and get started. But I want to start with the beginning of this effort. So when you started this journey, when you decided you were going to run, you probably had no idea it was going to be the way it's been. So tell us a little bit about what you were thinking from the beginning and then what you learned along the way.
Sure, absolutely. And that's a great question, Rania. Well, I've always had an interest in public service. Didn't say public office, but just public service. And figuring out, ways that I can serve, what I can do to improve the community, improve the plight of my fellow citizens, how I can make the world a better place. When you're younger, and I just turned 40, by the way. Okay. So just celebrated my 40th birthday on September 30th. So some would say that I'm still young. Thank you, Rania. But you try to figure out your place in the world. Where do you fit? How can you best serve? How can you make a difference? And so I've always had this interest also in just solving problems, being a problem solver. And of course, you can do that in many ways, as a school teacher, as a first responder, social worker. They're going into the ministry, as some people would say. But there's certainly various ways where you can have an impact on your fellow man. And so for me, that's really what it was all about. Right. And so how can I have an impact? And so if you look at my legal career, starting out as a public defender, where you represent individuals who don't have the resources to afford private counsel, but you certainly want to ensure that they have access to justice, working as a city prosecutor for the city of Columbia, where I fought to keep communities safe, that eventually serving as a city judge, where you sit in the seat of, judgment, and you have to administer justice without friends to reward or enemies to punish, which is also service as well. And then, I've been a practicing attorney for 15 years. 10 of those years have been spent in the private sector representing residents and citizens of Richland County and representing them as far as protecting and safeguarding their rights, whether it be against the government, whether it be against a large corporation or maybe an individual. So there's been I guess you could say, a track record of service. And so running for office just seemed to be a natural progression, if you will. And so for me, it was about how can I serve in a much wider capacity. Right. And so when Councilman Manning, who currently holds the seat, who's the current incumbent for Richland County District 8, decided around this time last year, in October of 2019, that he was not going to seek re-election, it was around that same time. I guess some would call it serendipity, but it was around that same time that I was having sort of these internal conversations with myself about what is the next step for me? How can I serve the citizens of Richland County in a much wider capacity? And it just so happened that Councilman Manning was not going to seek re-election. And I was having those conversations with myself. And here we are, a year later.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, there's definitely, I'm sure, been some lessons along the way with the campaign trail. So, from a year ago to now, our whole world has changed literally. So, what would have been some of the big takeaways that you have experienced in terms of what you expect your leadership to continue to be like?
Well, I would say this in terms of just far as what I learned. First of all, I know this is my first run for office.
Okay.
So there was so much that I did not know. I knew that it would be an arduous task, but I didn't realize how demanding the run for office would be. I didn't think that it would command so much of my time, not only just away from my law practice, but also so much time away from my family as well.
Right.
So that I would say that was probably my biggest takeaway was just the demands of just campaigning, running for office, and keep in mind, District 8 is just a sliver of Richland County. So I didn't even run a countywide election, right? Or this is not an at-large seat. Like you have some people who are running for school board right now and running at large. Or you have Nada Rutherford who ran for coroner. That's countywide. Sheriff Lott, that's countywide. And so me just running for a sliver of the county, I came to realize just how demanding campaigning would be. And I also learned, this is a lesson for anybody out there who's thinking about running for office. It's important to have a message, right? It's important to have a vision. The Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. Well, you got to have a vision if you're going to run for office. You got to have a message. And I would tell you this, Rania, and this may, some folk may say, "Oh, don't." I can't believe he went there. But if you're going to run for office, you have to be able to raise funds to run for public office. I heard a preacher say to me years ago that you got to have provision for the vision. So it's very important to be able to, if you're going to run, you got to have a vision, but you also got to be able to raise the funds to be able to touch the voters to get your message out there. So when you're campaigning, I didn't realize just how demanding it would be in terms of the demands of the campaign, but then also in terms of having to get out there for the first time as someone who didn't have the name recognition and getting people to buy into the vision by being willing to offer provision for the journey. So those would be my biggest takeaways.
Well, I've got, let's dig a little deeper with that. You talked about making sure you had a message, making sure you have a vision. So tell the people what is your vision for the county and specifically for those residents in District 8?
Absolutely. So I will say this. I think if you're going to run for office, it's important that you have an idea of what it is that that people want from their government, what it is that they want to see. Oftentimes, politics, it's about timing, right? And you gotta have the right message at the right time. You gotta have your finger on the pulse of the community, of the community and of the electorate. So what I wanted to do was make sure that my campaign and make sure that it was informed by the electorate. Oftentimes you get folk who step out, they run for office, and it's a very paternalistic approach. They think they know what's best for you, and they tell you what they are going to do. Well, what I did prior to announcing my run for office was, I went to community meetings. I went to neighborhood association meetings. I went to churches, and I listened to folk. And I listened to some of the challenges that they were confronting, some of their concerns, and just allowed that to inform, far as the platform or how I would campaign. And so for me, ultimately, this came down to at least what I discovered was that people just weren't feeling too good about their county government. So if you look at the campaign literature that we've handed out during the course of the campaign, or if you were to go to the website, what you will see is a constant theme of renewing people's confidence in their county government. I want to renew your confidence in government. We want to improve the quality of life for all citizens in Richland County and renew your confidence in your county government. And so that has been our theory of the case, right? And I can tell you some things that came up, Renia, constantly in my conversations and interactions with voters. They did not, they weren't feeling good about Richland County as a result of the controversial buyout of the former Richland County administrator.
Okay.
So that had the impact of diminishing people's confidence in their county government. They weren't too thrilled about some of the antics that they had heard coming out of the former solicitor's office. So that had the effect of diminishing their confidence in their county government. And then there were issues with the penny. As we all know, the penny was dogged by controversy for several years. And so all those things, just that triumvirate of just missteps, by county government that had the impact of people just questioning whether or not their government was really working for them. All right. And so we allowed the people to inform the campaign, and that is what we ran on, which was offering myself for public service to improve the quality of life for all citizens in Richland County, not just District 8, but all citizens, making sure that that we have a holistic approach to policy making, but at the same time, we want to renew your confidence in your county government.
Awesome. So you kind of struck home a little bit, but again, I like to dig a little deeper, take it a step further. And you talked about some of these issues and concerns. Tell us, like, specifically, so what does that look like for our county? What specific areas do you really look forward to championing and rallying the votes? Because that's another big part of it. You can't get anything done by yourself. You've got to definitely work as a team over there.
You are absolutely correct. And I tell voters often that I am just one vote. I'm one of 11 votes on county council, right? So I can't do this alone. I can't do it all by myself. I can't govern alone. But one of the things about the District 8 is that you have to, when you say some of the issues that I'm going to champion, well, District 8 is a very diverse district. Right. So if it starts in off in our Arcadia Lakes area, and it hits Decker Boulevard, North Trenton Extension, goes all the way out deep to the northeast, Hardscrabble, Clemson, near Lake Carolina past Ridgeview High School. And so District 8, it's a very diverse district in terms of challenges. So for instance, if you live in the Decker Boulevard area, you're probably most concerned about economic development. You probably feel like that part of Richland County has been left behind, and that all the emphasis is on, Sand Hills, right, the North Brickyard area, Clemson Road area, what have you. You feel like that is where, and the truth be told, that's where a lot of the development is occurring. I can remember growing up here in Richland County and going to the Red Lobster on Decker Boulevard around Christmas time. And we would go there every year for our annual holiday dinner because my father, my stepfather, was a postal worker, and he was a member of their union. And so that union would provide them with a gift certificate every holiday season. This is before they had gift cards, Renia. Right. So I think it was like a $50 gift card. So he took the family out there every year for our annual holiday dinner. And so I remember when Decker Boulevard was a bustling business district. Right. There were multiple grocery stores on Decker Boulevard. You had the skating rink. And then, of course, the crown jewel of the Decker area was Columbia Mall.
Correct.
Now, my wife, who's from Sumter, she often tells me stories about how she and her mother would drive all the way from Sumter to Columbia Mall just to go shopping.
Wow.
And so, but now if you look at Decker Boulevard, and it's not exactly what it used to be. Now, Councilman Manning has worked very hard at trying to reinvigorate Decker Boulevard. You've got the International Corridor, you got the new Magistrate Courthouse there, Central Court, and of course you have the police department. So the county has taken steps to try to reinvigorate that area, but the job is not done. So if you live in Decker, along Decker Boulevard, your concern primarily is economic development, right? And then once you move further out to the northeast, the question, you have questions around traffic congestions.
Mm,
And you have a question around how haphazard housing development and what have you.
right.
And so, for instance, if you live out that way, and if you got to go to the grocery store for anything, if you have to go, if you leave to go to the local store to pick up supplies for your kid's school project, or even when you take your kid to school, or when you go to work or return home from work, it's like an astronaut trying to re-enter Earth's orbit. You got to time it, right? And that's because growth and sprawl in that part of District 8, or that part of Richland County, has actually outpaced improvements to infrastructure. And so, if you're in that part of District 8, your concern is what can we do to alleviate and relieve traffic congestion, and how can we make sure that going forward, that growth and development does not outpace infrastructure development.
Makes sense.
And so, those are some of the issues that I would certainly focus on immediately from the outset, in the event I'm fortunate to get elected to serve.
So we talked a little bit about this, but truly, a lot has changed since last October. And one of those big major changes has definitely been the impact of the virus. As I've talked to folks, it just has, whether you've been directly impacted, literally by the virus hitting your home or your loved one, or you've been indirectly impacted, it's created just a very heavy burden, for our community. So tell me kind of what are some of your thoughts on the state of the virus, and again, how do you pick up the pieces in January possibly to lift our community back up and continue to put that confidence back into our community?
Well, I can tell you this: we certainly can't wait for the White House to offer any assistance. Unfortunately, we, at least at the national level, we've not seen the sort of leadership that this crisis necessitates, that it mandates. That just hasn't come from the national level. And in fact, I would tell your listeners that there was ever a time in your life that you need to vote in a local election, this election is it. Because the reality is we haven't had the leadership we needed from the federal level, and we haven't had the leadership that we needed from the state level. I can recall some months ago, when Democrats in the state house were actually, pushing, for the governor and the Republicans in the General Assembly to pass a statewide mask mandate. Right. And the governor and Republicans there all but blew them off, laughed them off, and didn't take them seriously at all. And I don't believe that even came up for a vote in the General Assembly on the House or on the Senate side. But guess who stepped up to the plate, Rania? It was City Council under the leadership of Mayor Benjamin that passed a mask ordinance. But keep in mind that mask ordinance's jurisdiction is only within the city limits of Columbia. Correct. So then it was County Council who stepped up to the plate under the leadership of Chairman Paul Livingston and managed to get a mask mandate passed, which covers the entire county. So that, to me, I believe that's gone a long way in saving lives. And the county has also stepped up in other ways in terms of, as far as in terms of offering grant money for small businesses. I believe the county has offered $500,000 in grant money for mom and pop stores. And the intent behind, or the reason it was earmarked for mom and pop stores, is because the federal, or at least the federal assistance that came down, there were a lot of mom and pop stores that actually sort of got lost or were not covered. And right. So the county stepped up there. There was another $500,000 that the county actually earmarked for food insecurity for seniors as well as low-income households. Another $250,000 that the county also earmarked to help nonprofits when it came to addressing rental and utility assistance. So there are some things that the county has done in this area. And I think also what I would be pushing for in January is for the county to work a little more harmoniously with the city of Forest Acres, city of Arcadia Lakes, city of Columbia, city of Eastover, which is in Southeast Columbia, but working with the smaller municipalities to actually to push for policies that at least create some sort of unanimity or uniformity, if you will. So that way you're not in one part of the county, okay, oh, you don't have to wear a mask over here. Another part of the county, you don't have to wear a mask. So, and also when it comes to reopening and curfews and things of that nature, just working with other municipalities to make sure that we're being as uniform as we possibly can.
Makes sense. So I think we're almost getting to the point where we'll be going to viewers' questions, but I've got a couple more for you. Again, some very unprecedented times going on right now. You mentioned the state of the election, and this is the first time ever that you don't need an excuse to vote absentee.
Yeah.
Today was the first official day of what I like to call election month instead of us talking about election day. And so let's dig a little deeper and literally, folks don't hear anything else. Why should they vote for you?
Why should they vote for me?
Why should they vote for you? I mean, they got to go out here, possibly stand in line, put on masks, put on hand sanitizer. Why vote for you?
Well, this is what I would say to anyone who's wondering, why should you vote for Overture Walker? And the question, and actually I would respond to that question with the question, which is, what is it that you want from your government, right? Democracy, I know it's a noun. If you look it up in the dictionary, that's what it is. But democracy should be a verb because it requires you to do something. If you want to improve the quality of life in your community, in your county, you got to get out and vote. If you want to see your government work for you, you got to get out and you got to vote. Overture Walker is someone who has spent I've spent a career advocating on behalf of the citizens of Richland County. I have spent a career working as a problem solver, and I have also spent a good chunk of my career as a decision maker, somebody who has an appreciation for making tough decisions. And so I believe that is what we need on Richland County. And if you're someone who's saying, hey, I need someone who is going to advocate for me, somebody who has an appreciation for making tough decisions, someone who somebody who's got a history of solving problems and who's going to make my government work for me. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's not about left. It's not about right. It's not about conservative. It's not about liberal. It's not about libertarian versus progressive. At the local level, it's about, is your government working for you? And so you vote for Overture Walker. Overture is going to make sure that your government works for you at the end of the day. And that's why I am in this. It's about improving the quality of life for all citizens here in Richland County. And so it's about making your government work for you. That's why you vote for Overture. You should vote for Overture Walker.
And how do people vote? Because there's a lot of mixed messages out there right now. I mentioned it a moment ago that, of course, today was like, day one. But just real quickly, very briefly, talk to us about what's different this time around.
Well, I believe what's going to be different this time around is, well, I think that, Renia, you highlighted a lot of things, which is, you got to wear that mask when you go out there, right? You got to make sure that you maintain the proper social distance when you go to the polls. And I think another thing that's different this time around is you have an entire month to do it. So at this point, there's really no excuse. And I know that and I'm a Democrat. And I have an appreciation for voter suppression, voter intimidation. I know that there's always been an effort, by the other side or by certain people to make voting harder or make it inaccessible. But this is really a situation where there's no excuse for no one getting out to the polls and voting this time around. There really is not. So, we have an entire month. In fact, I was thinking about going to vote today, and then I received an email, a notification rather, on my telephone from the state newspaper about the long lines today, which is actually a good thing. That means, people are taking it seriously. Folks are engaged. because this is the only way you can bring about change in your democracy, is to get out there and vote. I know it sounds trite, but this is the only way. But I think those are things that are different this time around. The mask, the socially distancing, but also you're going to have an entire month to do this.
Well, I'm gonna just pause for a second to again remind folks that if they have questions or comments that they'd like to share, they can do so in the link that should be in your comment section or on the post. And so now is the time that we like to begin hearing from you. Since we'll just keep talking until I see who's ready to jump in. But so you made it through the Democratic primary.
Mhm.
You had a runoff. So is this it? I mean, is this just an automatic, time for you, or what do we have?
Not at all. No, no, no. I do not get any time off. In fact, I do have I have a Republican challenger. And he's a very nice man. In fact, he and I talked for the very first time today. His name is Gary Dennis. We had a pleasant conversation. Good gentleman. He cares about the county as well. I think he and I, we probably just have, we may just have some different ideas or a different approach as to different approaches rather as to how we move the county forward. But I have a Republican challenger in November. So no, this is not it.
Well, in fact, your Republican challenger actually I think he's tuning in today, and he wanted me to let you know that he said hello. And he was excited about just listening to get to know you a little bit more through this format as well. So just didn't know if you knew he was tuning in, but he's joining us as well.
No, I did not. I didn't know that he was tuning in, but I would tell you that Republicans and libertarians and conservatives, they're all welcome. On the free thinkers.
That is right. That is right. So let me see. I'm trying to see if I've got anything I need to take. Well, as we, wait for others to jump in, I'll keep going. I could keep on going. But, we heard that you're a Democrat, a husband, a father, a man of faith, a public servant. What's something people wouldn't think about you or wouldn't know about you? What's something unique and different and would make us say, wow, we really got to know Overture that night?
Yeah, I am a real jokester. And I love the joke. I enjoy a good laugh. My wife would tell you that, sometimes you'll see me around the house dancing, doing old dances from the 1980s. Sometimes I'll do the snake.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll do the butterfly, the Tootsie Roll. Yeah, so I'll pull back these old dances from, the 1980s and the 90s. And most people don't know this about me, but I still listen to a lot of 90s hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm also, and I love, I'm a huge jazz fan. Oftentimes when I'm in the office, if I'm working, I'll turn on some jazz music. And then, if I'm on the way home, I may turn on some old Motown or Jackson 5 or James Brown, Al Green on the way home. Because I'm 40 years old. So there are times I feel like I was born in the wrong era in terms of my preference in music. But yeah, but those would be some of the things that people would be surprised to find out about me. I think oftentimes folks feel like, oh, he's a very straight-laced guy and he's uptight. No, not the least. When I'm on, I'm on. But I really enjoy a good laugh and having a good time. And my favorite comedians are Chris Rock and Chris Tucker.
Just hearing their names make me laugh.
And in fact, during my freshman year at USC, it was kind of, at least for the first month or so, you're trying to adjust to college life and all that. So that there were days that we would come back to the dorm and just be a little dispirited. And so I want to say probably for the first month, we watched the movie Friday. With Chris Tucker and Ice Cube, we watched the movie Friday every day for our first entire month at Carolina.
All right. Well, I've got that actually was on my list. I was going to ask you, what's on your podcast list, or your playlist, and what's your go-to things to keep you
Well,
motivated.
this is going to make you laugh, Rania. I don't have a podcast list.
Oh,
I still listen to CDs.
where do you find a CD player these days?
Yeah, well, I still have it in my car.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah. I mean, my car still has a CD player, so I have CDs that I listen to. Oh yeah, yeah. I pull out the new edition, Johnny Gill, Bobby Brown. Oh yeah, I mean just good music that I listen to. Oh yeah.
Well, we got our first question that came in, so I'll go there. What is your approach to helping expand small business growth? And would like to hear a little bit more about that. I'm a small business owner myself,
Sure.
so I'm very passionate to hear your answer.
Well, one of the things I hear about when you talk to folk about small business in Richland County is they say, well, red tape, right? They say that Richland County makes it pretty difficult to get a business started or to get it off the ground. So figuring out ways that we can sort of streamline that process when it comes to getting, licensing and what have you. Another thing that small businesses tend to be concerned about are the taxes here in Richland County as well. Just in my conversations with the business community, I've been told that the taxes in Richland County are just too high. And in fact, I want to say that Richland County, the taxes here are probably 60% higher than the taxes in Greenville County and Charleston County. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that so much of the property in Richland County is off of the tax rolls. I believe 2/3 of the property in Richland County is off the rolls. And that has more to do with the fact that City of Columbia owns a lot of property, Richland County owns a lot of property, USC owns a lot of property. The federal government, with Fort Jackson, owns a lot of property as well. Then you have the nonprofits and you have the hospitals. And so that actually, as a result of that, having so much property off the tax rolls, you end up with the remainder of the tax base making up the difference, if you will.
Right.
I think that the City of Columbia and Richland County have sort of put together what I think is a blueprint, which was during the summer of 2019 when the county and the city came together and I can't remember the exact name of the plan. It escapes me at the moment, but the gist of it was they offered a tax break for any commercial developments beginning at $30 million. So if it was a commercial development, $30 million or more, that it was a 50% tax break. I think I think Richland County can do something pretty similar for small businesses. Now, I don't know what that, far as what the, far as the threshold would be in terms of far as whether it's a business that's, generating 150,000 in revenue or $200,000 in revenue or what have you. But I think that is a good starting point in terms of what the city and the county did for commercial developers. Is we could do something on a smaller scale for small businesses where, you provide a tax break here in Richland County, and that would make the county more attractive for business, in particular, small businesses.
Gotcha. Well, I'm checking to see if we've got any additional questions or comments. And again, if anybody's tuning in and you've got something you want to bring to our attention, you better do it quick because we'll be wrapping up pretty soon. But if you do have a comment or a question, again, you can enter that in the comment section or on the post. There's a link there. But, I'll talk a little bit more to you, Overture, just to give folks an opportunity to jump in, and then we'll call it a night. I know you said it's been a busy time for you. I know it has for me. We're juggling kids learning from home and all kind of fun stuff these days.
Absolutely. And for me, it's been, campaigning and running a business, so yeah, you're trying to touch voters, but at the same time, I have an obligation to my clients, many of whom are Richland County residents, and they're concerned about what's happening in Richland County as well, but they also want to make sure their lawyer is on top of their case. So just as, I'm working as a problem solver for them, I hope someday they have the opportunity to help the citizens of Richland County solve their problems or the challenges that they face by using the instruments of our county government.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, Overture, before we wrap up, we got a couple of important things. Number one, how can people contact you, learn more about you, make sure that you're the person they want to consider voting for?
Well, certainly. Well, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to the website. That's Overture for Richland County.com. Or no, Overture for Richland, I meant .com. On the website, learn more about my personal story, my background, more about the campaign and the platform and all. You can do that. You can certainly check us out on Facebook as well. We're on social. We're on Twitter as well as so we're between Twitter and Facebook and the website. Certainly there you can find out more about me and the campaign.
Gotcha. And then again, we talked about the fact that election month kicked off today. So anything specifically you want to just wrap us up with sharing to voters?
Yeah, and absolutely. I think it's important for the listeners and the voters to know that in this country, the only way you can bring about change is through there are two ways you bring about change. You can bring about change by organizing, mobilizing, becoming an activist, and speaking truth to power, right? And then you can vote as well. So along with being out there, protesting and taking to the streets to highlight some of the inequities in the country and trying to rouse the conscience of a nation, at some point you have to move that. You have to take that energy and move it into the voting booth, right? And you got to cast a ballot and you have to vote. And I don't want anyone to feel that their vote. So now we have an echo. Renita, this is really, it's October and Halloween is almost upon us. So.
And this 2020 has dealt some very
those are my CDs. Yeah. Well, you asked if I had any parting shots. I guess I would just say this in closing to the listeners. And that is, every 4 years you get an opportunity to decide if your government is working for you. CD right there, and that is the question in any democracy. Is your government working for you? There are certain things that are promised us as American citizens. You look at our founding documents. Those three things are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I fervently believe that it is the role of government to remove any barriers or any hurdles to life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness. That is government's job, is to improve the quality of life for all of its citizens and to empower its citizens. And so every 4 years, we have to ask ourselves this question as a county, as a city, as a state, and as a nation, is whether or not government is working for us. I think Chris Rock, when he appeared on SNL this past Saturday night, as part of his monologue, he talked about reimagining our relationship with government, right? And I think every 4 years we get that opportunity to reimagine our relationship with government and ask ourselves, is our government working for us? Is it removing barriers to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? And if the answer to that question is in the affirmative, then you vote the very same people back in that you had for the past 4 years. If it's for county council or state senate, every 2 years, if it's for your state representative or for your congressman. And if the answer to that question is no, then you vote someone in. So while we may not be happy with who we are as a nation, or as a state, city, or county, we're not helpless. Because every 2 years, every 4 years, we have the power of the vote. And it's up to the people to decide whether or not your government is working for you. If it is, you vote the same people back in. And if it's not, then you give someone else an opportunity to make your government work for you. And so I can't say this enough, but everyone, please get out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. And that's it.
Awesome. Well, just one more time, tell us how people can find out more about you, Overture, because we had a lot of distractions going on. So
Overtureforrichland.com, or go look me up on Facebook, as well as Twitter, okay?
Awesome. Well, Free Thinkers Radio, we really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Overture, for letting me join you tonight. It's been great having this chat. And again, I can't say it better than Overture did. Get out and vote. That's your power. It is your opportunity, and you can do it every day from now until November the 3rd at 7 o'clock. So don't make any excuses because there are none. Vote like your life depends on it because it does. I'm Renia Jameson. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. And we look forward to our next opportunity to chat. Thanks, Overture.
Thank you, Renia. I appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you, Free Thinkers.
Yes, thank you, Free Thinkers.
Right.
Have a great night.
You the same, Renia. Bye-bye.